budget the movie? At what point do you think the script should be budgeted?
Well, after you've written it, gotten your confirmation, I mean, really only until you're in the last, it's like the final version and you're getting ready to either look for money or you have the money. Because the line producer's still going to make those suggestions, you know, but you're not going to demand you.
Again, if you have questions about the creation of the script writing concept process, we're going to talk about pre-production and raising money and budgeting and all that in the other, yeah. So let's just focus on the development of the script.
Since the audience will be spending a couple of hours, but you're going to be spending a couple of years with your movie, what movie do you desperately want to see more of that's worth your time? What stories are you drawn to?
Any of us?
Anyone, yes.
I mean, that's a tough question to answer because it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, we're drawn to the stuff that's personal to us. It's sort of like what Sean was talking about. You know, we have our own particular perspective on the world, and whether we want to tell an action film or, you know, a horror film or a drama, you know, we have our own way of wanting to express that cinematically. So, you know, it's that's what sets us apart. That's what makes, you know, a good film interesting, is the things that are distinctive about it, that the filmmaker's conveying that no one else can convey. And so, you know, it's very personal. You know, there's no like, oh, I love to tell this story. You know, I may love to tell this story this day and tell this other story this other day, and they're all going to tell their stories.
I don't want to see.
Yeah, yeah. It's easy to answer that question. Don't want to see any more of this or that or this or that.
She said, I can tell you what I don't
wanna
want to
see.
see anymore.
Question.
Since Save the Cat was brought up, I'm just wondering about that idea of structure and adherence to that. Just real quickly, if somebody wanted to.
That's a good question. We'll start with Sean.
Structure is extremely important to the storytelling process, but I would just argue that it's something that emerges. You write the story once. You're not going to know the structure of the story until you've written it down a couple times, gotten through a couple of drafts, figured out, you know, where the actual dramatic tension is. I advise reading a couple screenwriting books because you know they have things to offer, but they're not a substitute for actually getting, you know, bleeding on the pages and going through the process. Especially something like Save the Cat. The thing about Save the Cat is it has a lot of useful information, but it gives you this false impression that, oh, writing movies is easy. You know, you just like do these things. You know, it's a very short book. It's really only about 80 pages long when you put it all together. And so while yes, read those books and think about structure, understand that structure is something that that's going to emerge. You're like an archaeologist, and as you dig for that story, the first, second, and third act, and where the midpoints and culminations and individual sequences are going to those are going to emerge from the process rather than, I don't know, thinking about it in a top-down way.
Cool. You guys have anything to add?
I think that it's exactly that. It's if you have no kind of concept of how to approach structure, I think those books can be really useful. But I do think you have to kind of let them go at a certain point and recognizing that the material will start to speak to you. And I do think ultimately what those books are basically telling you is guiding you towards getting really specific and clear on what the stakes of your story are about and why the audience should care. And it is remarkable how difficult that is to achieve on paper. I've been reading a ton of stuff lately, and it's just like 90% of the scripts that are out there, it does have that huge, like, why do I care factor? And that is like all a structure is trying to guide you towards, is getting specific in telling us why we should care about your characters and what they're going through in that moment. It's that simple, I think, at the end of the day.
All right, unfortunately, got to wrap up this section, but we're going to be back at 10 o'clock sharp for the next session, which is film financing. I know there's a zillion questions. We can go on all day, but we got to move fast. So see you here at 10 exactly.